Happy Sunday, everyone. Okay. I want to call on white light protection for myself and this community as we ask permission from Spirit to access the Akashic records. We call on our spirit guides and our good angels to be with us. Please give us the clarity and the wisdom that is needed to empower all of us on our journeys, to make the best decisions for ourselves, our families, the planet, the people we love, but also to help those that we may have strife with. And together collectively as a community, we say, Amen. And for those people today who are requesting a healing, we come together at this time and we pray. We pray that you and those you love receive a perfect healing in mind, body, and in spirit. And together again we say, Amen, Amen, Amen. May all souls be healed. May all souls be healed. All right, without further ado, let's go ahead and we're going to do the collective reading for the week. This is a collective reading of images and impressions for the week that hopefully is relevant to all of us. If it doesn't apply to you, it's like a smorgasbord. You can just pass it down to the next person. Thank you so much for being here. If you haven't had a chance yet to like and subscribe to the stream, I would really appreciate it as it helps build the algorithm as we gently try to make it to 100,000 subscribers. Thank you, everyone. Much, much love and appreciation. Let's do it. What is going on in the world right now? What do we need to know in order to get through this week? Oh, is there orbs? Oh, goody. That's wonderful. I like orbs. Hopefully it was a friendly orb. The collective reading. Okay. Where we are at right now, the base of the matter is war. As many of you know, we've been getting the Knight of Swords quite a bit right now. The Knight of Swords, it has been called the bull in the china shop. And that's because the Knight of Swords is associated with violence, erratic behavior. If you're looking at it from the perspective of Chinese medical theory, right? If you're looking at the metal element in Chinese medicine, so the metal element is associated with the swords. The metal element is associated with the swords. And the time is the fall. Time of metal is the fall. And fall is when we also get flus, and it attacks our wind. It's an attack of the wind. So wind is associated with the lungs. So lung infection. In Chinese medicine, there's no difference between the external world and the internal world. So if we have disruptive wind, windstorms, erratic wind, it can have an impact on our wind system, the lungs. Our lungs are protected by the Wei Qi, which is our defense system against the wind, right? So the Wei Qi is an area in your back that tightens up when the wind hits your back. So the swords, the Knight of Swords specifically is wind run amok. It is wind run amok, and you can see that angry wind pushing around in the background, and you can see the sword or the metal is coming. So the metal element in Chinese medicine is associated with the organs of lung and large intestine. The lungs and the large intestine are associated with the metal element, and it impacts the wind and the ethers. See how smart Pam Coleman was? So this is the time of flus, influenzas. This is the time of people coming back from school and sharing their viruses. This is the time when people should have gotten their flu shots if you're concerned about getting the flu. It's also associated with war. We've talked about the fact that every time I throw the cards about the future, the base of the matter is the Knight of Swords. We are not unified in this country. We are not unified in this country. We're facing civil war. And so all of us are called to ask ourselves, are you fueling the war? Are you fueling the infection? Are you fueling the virus that we are all infected with, right? So it's a time of anger, violent winds, high infection rates, and war. And this is why we say that war is inevitable. In terms of karma, how we handle war is up to us. We could join the war and start fighting and risk killing somebody or getting killed. And sometimes you have to do that. Arjuna didn't want to go to war in the Bhagavad Gita, but in the end, he understood he had to. Sometimes there's a time for war. Or your job may be to try and cool the heat, to calm things down so there isn't any war, right? So that we want to make sure there's no war. So, but this is a time of anger and this is a time of war. The karma card is the Six of Pentacles, and the Six of Pentacles is associated with justice. And you can see he's holding that beautiful justice. And it's balanced. Those scales are balanced. Who is going to receive mercy and who is going to be denied mercy? Now, this is the time of Rosh Hashanah, as Joel points out. This is the Jewish New Year. And this is the time when we begin to harvest, reap what we sow. If we worked hard in the field, if we had good rains, then we will have a good harvest. It's also the beginning of winter when most people die. Most people die in the winter. Who by water? Who by fire? Right? So that's the ultimate question, right? Is that we are entering into the time where the scales are balancing. So you have to ask yourself, if you're thinking about it from a Buddhist perspective, have you done everything in your power to have a good Rosh Hashanah? You know, are you doing everything in your power to have a good Rosh Hashanah? You know, a Cohen in Judaism is a high priest. If your name is Cohen, it means that you are a direct descendant of you're a direct descendant of Aaron. Aaron was, I believe, the older brother. I always thought of him as the younger, but then I was reading that he was actually the older brother of Moses. But now is the time of the account and the reckoning.
Who by water, who in in the sunshine, who in the nighttime, who by high ordeal, who by common trial.
Out, but that song that he's singing is an ancient song. It's an ancient prayer about this time of year when you are harvesting your work for the year. This is why I tell people you must give yourself an account and a reckoning. You must give yourself an account and a reckoning. You must have a journal. And in that journal, you must give yourself an account and a reckoning, because this idea of an invisible God watching you at all times, actually, you are watching you at all times. It is you judging yourself. And every action and every deed, there are consequences for the things that you have done. There are consequences for the things that you have done. And it's very important for all of us to not sugarcoat what we have done and to always make ourselves out to be the victims, but to take some personal responsibility for the part we played in the collapse of certain relationships, in the dynamics of certain relationships, and our decision to be in certain relationships. Like choosing to stay in the United States right now, or leave if that is what you're inclined to do. If what you're inclined to do is leave, so be it. But you and I find ourselves in this current situation because of our choices. And there's a culmination that happens in this time of year. So if you energetically, it's the wheel of fortune. It goes round and round and round in a circle. That time is a circle, and we keep returning back to that time. And so at this time energetically, we are collectively entering the time of Rosh Hashanah, where we must give ourselves an account and a reckoning. And those people who are going to die by water, by fire, by high court, those people who will be blessed with another check. I know many of you are hoping for a relief check. That is what they're talking about in this remote. You can see the Six of Pentacles is pushing forward. That Six of Pentacles, the balance, everything in the end is going to be balanced. Who will receive a blessing and who will not? So what happens before Rosh Hashanah is that people and before Yom Kippur is that people begin to do an account and a reckoning. This is something that's talked about in the 12 steps. You make an account and a reckoning of everyone that you have harmed. You apologize to those people that you have harmed. But more than that, you pay restitution. If you owe somebody money, now is the time to pay them back. Or to work it off. Say, I owe you money, I can't pay it back, but I would like to work it off. And you do what you can to work it off. But the point of the matter is, by keeping a diary and by keeping a journal and giving yourself an account and a reckoning and holding yourself accountable, because there's no invisible God out there, it's just you, right? You're the one that chose to put the cream puff in your mouth, or the chocolate in your mouth, or the fried chicken from KFC, right? They say the best KFC is in Jamaica, man, Montego Bay. If you want to have the best chicken in the world, they say go to Montego Bay. And there's no better chicken in the world than the Montego Bay KFC. I'll tell you, I was thinking about getting on a plane and going on vacation to Montego Bay just to try the chicken. So that is the time to meditate on. And the first house for you and I is the moon. The moon is an interesting card. It has both a positive and a negative aspect. It is associated with Cancer, the sign of Cancer, which is a water sign. And the moon is associated with lunacy, howling at the moon. It's interesting that we're entering into Rosh, which in Hebrew, Rosh is the head. I'm just teach you a little bit of Hebrew. Rosh is the head. Shana is year, the head of the year, right? So we have a full moon, we have the new moon, right? When it's the new moon, the new year, and then the energy culminates in headed towards the full moon. And at that point, we're entering into the days of awe. And at that time, we're headed towards Yom Kippur, Slichot, Yom Kippur, Slichot, which means excuse me. Apologies, Slichot. I'm sorry, Slichot. Excuse me. Right? There's a little bit more Hebrew. So the moon is the time of lunacy, howling at the moon. It's also the time of Cancer. And then the positive aspects are psychic ability, psychic phenomenon. So the veil between this world and the worlds to come is very thin at this time. Or All Hallows Eve, October 31st, is right around the time that we enter. Is it the winter equinox? Samhain, is that correct? Samhain is the traditional way. So the evening of Friday, October 31st. So that's cool. It's going to be a Friday. And it goes until All Saints Day. Is it All Saints Day, November 1st? So if we're talking about the Celtic tradition, we're building energy from this time, which is Rosh Hashanah, which starts tomorrow night. And then we're entering into the day. Those are the days of awe, account and reckonings, times to make an apology and pay your bills. And this idea of people sewing their clothing. They would sew the clothing onto themselves. They would harvest as much food as possible. They would lock themselves in their house, make sure they had enough food and water. And they were not going to come out of there until February 14th, which is the first spring. There's 2 springs in the Celtic tradition. And it was time of love and celebration because people would check on their neighbors and see who lived and who died, who by water, who by fire, right? Who was going to survive the winter, who had enough food stored. So Samhain is the ancient Celtic festival typically celebrated for October 31st to November 1st that marks the end of the harvest season and the beginning of the dark half of the year or winter. During Samhain, the veil between the physical and spiritual worlds was believed to thin, allowing spirits, fairies, and the dead to more easily pass into the human realm. So everything is connected, right? Particularly if you're talking about harvest cultures and harvest communities that lived according to the seasons, right? So that is a little bit about what is going on energetically. So we're entering into that time when you see people in the synagogue praying. It's the most important time to develop a connection with God. I don't want to die this winter. I don't want to die alone. I screwed up. I robbed. I stealed. I cheated. I got to make it right before winter comes, right? If nothing else, Nobody's going to help you if you're in trouble this winter. Can I have an extra loaf of bread? No, you lied and cheated and you shamed the entire village. So we're just going to let you die on your own. There's another consequence, right? The crossing card is the Two of Swords, an inability to see the part that you played in the life that you created for yourself. If a person's a slave, then they truly have no rights. Now, there are a lot of people that find themselves literally held hostage in relationships. Women that can't leave, they're trapped by children or domestic violence, people that will kill them if they try to leave. And so they do have limited choice. Maybe they truly didn't know the guy was a wingnut, or maybe somebody got involved in drugs. But the point is that the Two of Swords is a refusal to see one's own part in the. It's that helplessness of the slave that's part of the old religion that we've talked about, where people used Christianity as a way of controlling the slaves, that you had to be submissive and helpless to some invisible God that was watching you, and you were completely at the mercy. And same with Islam, submission, right? Submission and surrender, and stop fighting what's being done to you. Oh, there are orbs flying everywhere? Okay, well, that's cool. I'm all right with that. So Two of Swords is a refusal to see our part in everything. So it's important for us to really spend this time meditating and asking ourselves, are you involved in learned helplessness? Are you helpless by design? I always tell people to start with your diet. Last night, I rate myself. I give an accountant a reckoning using Grok. I know a lot of people don't like Twitter X, but I actually find some good stuff with, I think Grok is excellent. But how I like to give myself an accountant reckoning is I use, it's modern times, right? You can use an old diary, and I do that too sometimes. But what I like to do is I like to use supercomputers. I mean, not supercomputers, but artificial intelligence. I like to use Nomi and give an account and a reckoning. So last night I did an account. I always do an account and a reckoning of my diet, and I got an A. It was delicious too. I did curried mung beans, and I cooked them till the water went out so they were dry. And I don't like a lot of sloppy. I don't like food to be sloppy. I like it to be dry. So they were like dried out mung beans curry with very little salt, because I'm diminishing my salt. And I put that on top of a mixture of quinoa and brown rice. And I put that on top of a massive salad with arugula, little olive oil, balsamic, delish. And then I had my protein and greens by Paradise with my flax and my hemp and my walnuts for omegas, mixed frozen fruit, almond and soy milk, a little bit of banana. So I asked Grok, okay, do a nutritional account and reckoning, and I got an A. So I was very happy. So yeah, that's an example of doing an account and a reckoning, but it's a habit that I strongly encourage for people. So Two of Swords is a refusal. It's that defensive way we get where we just don't want to own our own participation. Right? So Two of Swords is a refusal to look, and the crash is coming. So how did we as Americans participate in the situation that we find ourselves in right now, including a stock market crash, which is probably coming? War is inevitable. We can see the war card coming up here. I'm seeing war. I'm seeing the tower. And I'm seeing that everything is happening as it should because we collectively created it. Six of Pentacles. Yeah, I'm 90% Furman too. I'm 90% vegan with 10% animal product. My animal product was I did a little bit of 1% dairy in my coffee. I'm doing 50% dairy, 50% soy. I'm doing 50-50 to reduce, to cut out the amount of dairy. And the other reason I lost points was because I mix sugar and allulose sweetener. So it's 50-50 to reduce the amount of sugar, but I still wound up after a few cups of coffee with 1 tablespoon of sugar. But they don't want you to go above 25 grams of sugar a day. And I think I was at like 24 or something like that. Yeah, so I did very well for myself. So there's a crash coming. So I'm going to go ahead and predict with these cards that we are at war. America is at war. Now, you could say it's wag the dog, but I think Maduro was put in by Russia, and by going to war with Maduro, we're going to war with Russia. And I think that based on these cards, we're also looking at a stock market crash. And I think that we simply don't want to take responsibility for how America got. I know that I participated in America turning out this way. I've not been as involved in going to the town halls as I should. I have not been as, I thought everything was going to be great when Obama got elected. Yeah, the dark times are behind us. Boy, were we wrong, right? We got comfortable, right? Daddy's home, right? That's what they say about Trump. Well, I felt the same way when Obama got elected and when Biden got, oh, thank God, Daddy's home. And that's ultimately the problem, is that we have to take responsibility. Daddy's not going to fix it. This helplessness, Two of Swords, this refusal to see our participation, this confusion, right? This howling at the moon and then crash. And so it starts with the most basic things of self-care so that your brain is functioning properly. Take your omegas, take your, eat your nutrient dense diet, try and get off animal products to the best of your ability because it's bad for the environment. If you need to, look, not everybody can be vegan. But do your best. The point is that we all have to collectively take responsibility for our part in why the world looks the way that it does right now. And what is above us, what is coming in, is the fourth house. And the fourth house is grief, that many of us are stuck in states of grief. I've talked to you a lot about the fact that I am a doctor of naturopathic medicine, and that part of what attracted me to being a naturopathic doctor is that I wanted to be a great herbalist. And one of the things you learn as an herbalist is something which is called the simples. And the simples are when you focus on one herb at a time. This is one of the ways that we develop a relationship with the plant. And it's based on this idea that plants are conscious beings, that just like ayahuasca is a conscious being, and that these plants want to work with us as teachers and helpers. And so right now, and you want to work, some people will work with a plant for a week, some people will work with the plant for a month. Right now I'm working with, and it's a simple, we're not talking about blends. I make blends for my patients. I've got so much adrenal, every patient that comes to me has adrenal fatigue, right? So I will do sometimes blends where there's 15 herbs inside the tea remedy. I don't do tinctures. I think good old fashioned diffusion. Decoctions, making teas with boiling water, steeping them, strong teas. This is the Chinese medical way of doing it. I like good old fashioned simples. Simple remedies. But a simple is when you focus on just one herb at a time. And right now, the herb that I am focusing on is chamomile. And chamomile is a profound plant. And we've talked about the power of chamomile, that chamomile is in the Asteraceae or Compositae family. It looks like the sun, and it's supposed to bring sun to you. And I buy my tea bags on Amazon. I know you guys don't like Amazon, but they supply work to a lot of different companies. They're just a warehouse that sells different companies. But I use the non the non-bleached tea bags, and I stuff that puppy with so much chamomile, just one herb chamomile. Put it in a teapot, and then pour a lot of scalding boiling water, and I let it steep for a good 10 minutes to get and move it around, and you can squeeze the tea bag to try and get as much of the chamomile out as possible. And then I will drink copious amounts of the chamomile. Now, if you want to just get some chamomile at Costco and have a couple cups of tea, that's fine. And you may get some nice medicinal benefits from it. But it's not the same as using it medicinally the way I am, where I'm trying to develop a relationship with that plant and have that plant help me as a healing plant. And I've been feeling so good. Excuse me, I got a frog in my throat. I've been feeling so good. And the reason I chose chamomile is because it falls in the class of being a nervine. And it's used for anxiety and depression. It makes you happy. The sun comes out. And it helps me address my shadow during the days of awe. Now, some of you have said that you have a sensitivity to chamomile, so I would do the same exact thing, but I would use the plant holy basil, and you can buy them in bulk. And holy basil helps heal deep-seated trauma. So if you're in a state of Two of Swords and you're having difficulty looking at your stuff, my first plant, the first teacher plant I would start you with is high-dose chamomile. One plant, one herb. And if you can't do chamomile because you're allergic to flowering plants, some people can't do chamomile, then I would work with the plant holy basil. Now, holy basil has been researched by, I think it's Walter Reed Medical, for its ability to help soothe or comfort people who suffer from complex post-traumatic stress disorder by working deep with memory and trauma, pulling up and healing the trauma, as does chamomile. But I usually start people with chamomile. And the other important thing I would say to people is that there are many plants that are easy to acquire that are given no respect, because we live in a pharmaceutical age. And people just think, oh, it's just dandelion, not understanding that these plants, if they're used properly, will change your life forever. And chamomile is a plant that will change you forever. Calendula also can be used for the same reason. It's also a compositae. We say it heals you where the sun don't shine. And that is why calendula creams and ointments are used for like butt boils. When you have a boil on your ass, they'll give you some, they'll lance it, heal it, use some, or they use calendula cream. So calendula is also helpful. If you are on blood thinners, then I would switch you to holy basil. Yeah. which does not contain the same amount of salicylates. The reason I'm saying all of this to you is not digressing, though it may sound like I'm digressing. I'm not digressing. I'm saying that based on your card chart, what I'm looking at right now is somebody trapped in grief, a refusal to look at their part in why things are falling apart, how we all participated. And Armageddon is coming for all of us, right? We all are going to die someday. And you can see very clearly when you look at this card chart that we are at war. Don't you think it's unusual that every time I throw the cards for the last couple of weeks, the base of the matter has been of the Knight of the Swords? Has anybody noticed that? Anybody here come here regularly? What's been the base the last 4 or 5 times you've come into session with me, or when you've come in to watch the channel? It's been the Knight of Swords, because we're at war. The market is going to crash. Everything is going to crash because we're at Tower. And 2 of Swords is the inability to see how we participated. The 5 of Cups is to be trapped in the past with an inability to go forward because you're trapped by what you've lost and not see what remains and work with what remains. Well, I'm old. It's too late for me. I can't learn the violin, right? And we are sitting in the Tower. What is behind us is 4 of Pentacles is a frugality card. It's the importance of being frugal. It's also been called the Buddha card. And the reason why we call it the Buddha card is because it has an aspect to it of account and reckoning, of self-examination, of pulling back, of holding on to your coin. If you want to get to the kingdom of heaven, the Fool is on his way to a beautiful world. Look at that lovely city. It looks like, yeah, we're going to Mazatlan. We're going to Montego Bay, KFC. Woohoo! And then this guy shows up and blocks your path. Well, I want to get over there, man. That looks like Sao Paulo, man. Jamaica, man. I mean, get out of my way. And he's holding up the coin, and it's acting like a mirror. It's acting like a mirror. Sorry, I've got a frog. It's acting like a mirror. And he's telling you to examine the nature of your own existence, watch your coin go inward, and he's telling you to retract. You can't just go from 0 to 60. So that is the 4 of Pentacles. It's about frugality. It's about watching your coin. It's about self-examination. It's been called the camera card because he's holding it the way they used to hold cameras in the old days when they would make films. They would often just physically hold the camera steady. He's grounded by his coin. It's a card of grounding. If you wish to escape the cycle of old age, sickness, and death, you must first understand the nature of your own existence. And then the near future for all of us is that things are happening very rapidly. The 8 of Wands is for things to happen very, very quickly, very, very rapidly. The 7th house is be wise at this time. The High Priestess reveals the hidden knowledge. She is the revealer of that which is hidden. She is draped in the night. She is draped in the night, signifying the yin energy, the energy that is strengthened at night. And she holds the Torah, which is the light, Ta-or in Hebrew, to bear the light. And she is standing at the gates of Solomon's temple, right? What is it? It's Yafet. What's standing outside Solomon's temple? The key of Solomon, the wisdom of Solomon. Something in Yafet or something like, I don't know. But that is the. It's supposed to symbolize the. She's standing outside Solomon's temple. The other interesting thing is the pomegranate, which was considered to have 613 seeds, 613 laws in the Torah, the ultimate wisdom. Plantain, woodpile, which is an astringent, and it's used to help with wound healing. If something is bleeding, like a bloody nose, you apply plantain. It's an astringent, and it can be used to draw poison out. The hope and the opposition at this time is 10 of Cups, the happy family and unity. We've talked about the fact that it's important for us to focus on creating unity everywhere we go and to be kind to everyone and spread kindness. Not to be abused or disrespected by people, but I'm just saying, whenever possible, try to be kind and be of good cheer. Invite people who don't have anywhere to go. Invite them to come have Thanksgiving with you or dinner with you. Include more potlucks, more social events. Create more unity. Don't just live in your own box. Don't begin to play into this game, because that's what people who want civil war in the United States, they want the demonizing the Democrats. Right? This is what Marjorie Taylor Greene did, right? Well, as if we all collectively killed Charlie Kirk, which is insane, right? A lone gunman who was extremely confused, who grew up in a MAGA family and was a strong supporter of the Second Amendment, killed Charlie Kirk, right? And was deeply conflicted and not a particularly political person. So it had nothing to do with the Democrats. Probably didn't have anything to do with any political group. It was just a crazy person. It had something to do with the fact that crazy people have easy access to guns. That's part of that we have too many crazies in the United States and we have too many guns. Which goes back to, when all else fails, go back to your diet, because Americans are eating garbage and they're thinking garbage thoughts. And what we eat is impacting our mental health. This is why I say Cory Booker has more oxygen hitting his brain than Donald Trump, because Cory Booker is a vegan, whole food, health food freak, right? So he's getting a lot of oxygen to his brain that Donald Trump is not getting. Adam Schiff is also a health food freak and a vegan. So objectively, whether we like it or not, the brain health of Cory Booker and Adam Schiff is much better than Donald Trump, simply because we know how they eat. The hope and the fear at this time is that the truth will come out. So there's a real fear in the country that we will not be able to handle the truth. I've said in previous remotes that I don't think that Congress can save Donald Trump. Congress can't save Donald Trump because everybody has a cell phone. Everybody has access to the truth. This is another reason why it's a good idea to be a good person, because everything is recorded. The information is out there. There's nothing we can do to stop it. And so act as if everybody can see you, because first off, you should never do anything in private you can't admit to in public. That's just the best way to live your life. But that the truth is coming out. This is the great fear. And then the final outcome for you and I is Eight of Swords, restriction. Should human beings be restricted? Should our freedoms be restricted? My belief is yes. I'm not talking about the right of somebody to smoke marijuana and zone out if that's, I'm talking about certain things should be restricted. Everybody should not drive a car. If you don't have a license, any action that puts other people's lives at risk, you should not be allowed to, you shouldn't be allowed to do that. Easy access to guns. What I believe is that Americans are saying that we want restrictions. We want self-imposed restrictions. Who doesn't want restrictions? Libertarians, right? They want to be able to do whatever the hell they want. Consequences be damned, right? The environment be damned. But the truth of the matter is, that's just how little kids think. They want to eat as much cookie dough as and they want to eat as much candy. There's never going to be any consequences, right? They're obsessed with candy, right? But the truth of the matter is that that's not the real world. The real world is about this willingness to have self-imposed restrictions on certain things. You don't get to dump trash all over the sidewalk. You don't get to impose your will on the collective at the expense of everybody else. You don't get to pollute and create toxins in the environment, right? Eight of Swords is also a card. I think about red tape. I think about being in financial trouble, being in debt. That part of the benefits of credit card debt and part of the benefit of putting yourself in that situation is you're going to learn a lot about yourself by coming out of debt, right? That's why I started a debt-free channel, which was Broke Aristocrats, because I wound up in debt, right? By my own bad choices. I made, I also had some health challenges, but the point is that Eight of Swords can be going into debt, financial problems. Eight of Swords is a card you want to be aware of for economic concerns. Fighting back against the Tower is where we're at, and heartbreak. I really think that Republicans thought that Donald Trump was telling the truth. It's interesting. People become true believers. When you go into Mike Johnson's energy, he really believed that Donald Trump was innocent and that it was just some made up story by the Democrats. And it's starting to dawn on them, oh my God, this guy really is a pedophile. The sun coming out, taking the weapons of war away from our enemy. And there it is. Who by water, who by fire? The wheel of fortune has arrived. And as I had said before, you can see that time is a wheel. Look at those beautiful Hebrew letters. So you also see in Rosh Hashanah who is going to be in the book of life. Who is going to be in the book of life? Everything is recorded. Everything that you do is being recorded. Not by some invisible God, but that's just karma, the karmic wheel. The snakes of desire and also wisdom. Snake is a symbol of wisdom. The winged chariots, up. Whimsy didn't pay her taxes, up. Whimsy didn't exercise, up. Whimsy ate too many chocolate chip. Whimsy had that pizza. It was delicious, but here comes the acid reflux, right? So for every action, there's a reaction of equal or greater force. And the wheel is churning, returning back to Rosh Hashanah. And we are back at that time. And you now must reflect on your year. Reflect on your year and think about your actions. What can you do at this time to begin to gently address the ways that you participated in everything that is happening in the world at this time, and how can you change direction rather than just being defensive and being the victim? How did you participate in this crash? Because I can tell you the crash is here. Refusal to examine the self, Two of Swords. Confusion, howling at the moon, living too much in the past. Living too much in the past, Five of Cups. Those are the challenges we all face this week going forward. And it is changed when we take responsibility and we stop promoting us versus them and we begin to work towards unity. Okay, that is the collective reading. I hope it gave you some comfort, and I hope it gave you clarity as well. Did everybody like that?